Greetings, Human Life Forums. I'm the Meister, and welcome back to the Week 9 edition of the OT Podcast. Here, joined once again, Thomas Bailey, per usual, as well as the Super Bowl trophy. I know he's been a little inconsistent this season with making appearances, but the
He's
trophy...
got a busy schedule.
Very busy schedule. Coming to Buffalo, Probably is going to stay here for a little bit, I'm hearing. But we're going to go right into the picks here. For starters, last week, I went 6-7. For an overall.
I think that's your first losing week of the season, right? You and Brian both went 6-7.
I feel like I've had multiple, to be honest. But my overall record is 69-51. You went 8-5 last week for an overall of 83-37. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then Brian also went 6-7 last week for an overall of 75-45. And then we also got the AI at a whopping 11-2 last week for an overall of 77-43. The AI is locking in here a little bit.
The AI is now in second.
Yeah? Oh, God, that's gross. Yeah. But we're going to make it right into this Week 9 slate of games. This week is going to carry over into November, which is crazy that we have games in November this week already. It's scary to think about, but we're going to kick things off on Prime Video, as we always do, with the 2-5 Baltimore Ravens with Lamar Jackson finally back out on the field, as they're going to go into Miami to face the 2-6 Dolphins. Matchup with two very poor records, but both teams with impressive wins last week. Who gets win number 3 on Thursday night?
I think this is a very tough one for me to pick for the simple fact of this Dolphins run defense. Their run defense has been so good these last couple of weeks. And you see how the teams they've beaten, they've played well against the run. And the teams that they've lost to, they've played very bad against the run. Example, Rico Dowdle, James Cook, in their losses. I think that this game is going to be determined by if Derrick Henry can move the ball. And based off last week, I think he's going to be able to do it. I mean, they played pretty well. Getting Lamar back, too, is going to mess things up for this Dolphins defensive game plan, too. So I think last week, if they still had Huntley for this game, I would pick Miami. I really would pick Miami for the simple fact that Bears run defense was god-awful last week. And that was the first good performance we've seen from Derrick Henry in a minute. Plus, against this really good run defense for the Dolphins, I think that they could actually stymie that attack and force Huntley to pass, which Huntley's okay, but he's not going to be that great of a passer in those situations, especially if they're playing from behind, for example. But I do think that that's going to change things with Lamar coming back finally, and I think they're going to win this game. I think it's going to be a pretty good one for them, and I think it's going to be the first statement win for them this season, 31-20. Go ahead and give me the Ravens.
Yeah, I'm going to get this right out of the way here early. This is my lock of the week right here.
Wow.
Ravens over the Dolphins on Thursday night. I feel like for a game like this, both teams really have their backs against the wall right now, but especially for Baltimore, I feel like, just because they were one of those Super Bowl contending teams coming into the season, and really, so far, they haven't really shown it, and they finally got an impressive win with Huntley last week against the Bears, and I feel like that's something they can really build off of, especially with Lamar coming back. I feel like they're trying to build up some momentum to go into the second half of the season here, but I think they're going to get a really good win here on Thursday night, as both AI and Brian are going to side with us, and all of us are going to go with the Baltimore Ravens to start things off on Thursday night, as we're going to go right into the Sunday slate of games. No international games again this week. We're going to have to wait one more week for that. But the first game of which being on CBS here, it is the 5-3 San Francisco 49ers traveling into New Jersey to take on the 2-6 Giants. Both teams coming off tough losses last week. Which team do you see rebounding here in Week 9?
I think this has been one of those ones for me where it's going to be that running game for the Giants that's concerning me here. The Giants have worked so well off play action with Jackson Dart, and they've been able to really these last couple weeks having Cam Scatabo, but falling back to Tyrone Tracy, who really didn't show much at the start of the season, hence why Scatabo was starting in the first place. And on top of that, also seeing Devin Singletary is the only other real option in that backfield. I understand the 49ers offense hasn't been that good, but if you look at last week, Woody Marks, of all people, went really, really, really well against that for the Houston Texans against that 49ers defense. So kind of facing that situation for the 49ers where their run defense has really been the issue going up against an attack that's really not that good, and Tyrone Tracy and, of course, Devin Singletary as well. I think that's going to help them stay competitive in this game, and I think that they'll do enough to tire out that Giants defense. It's pretty good. And I think that we're not going to see too many weeks where the 49ers offense doesn't get McCaffrey involved the way he wasn't involved in the last game. I think he's going to get back to his ways in this game, and I think they'll do a good job. It's going to be close. It's going to be a back-and-forth game. Kind of lower scoring, at least in my opinion, so go ahead and give me the Giants to lose this one 20-17. 49ers bounce back after a tough loss to Houston.
All right, just like for the Thursday night game, all of us are going to be in agreement once again. I'm also going to go with the San Francisco 49ers. I feel like the Giants losing Scadaboo is obviously it's a big morale hitter, if you will, considering how great he's really been for the team so far this season. As the Niners, they did have a bit of a hiccup against Houston. I know they're very injury-riddled, but they've been playing well for a majority of the season here, so I'm not expecting really any fall-offs from the 49ers just yet. I think that was just kind of a bit of a mishap. Like it happens to every team, really, I feel like. So I think this is a good game for the Niners to get McCaffrey back involved in the offense, like you mentioned, and get a win there in New Jersey. But without further ado, we're going to move on to the next game, which is the 5-3 LA Chargers going into Tennessee to take on the 1-7 Titans. Chargers right in the thick of the playoff race. Titans right in the thick of the draft mocks right now. Two teams in very different spots. Chargers coming off a good win against the Vikings on Thursday night. Titans coming off another loss, but to one of the best teams in the league in the Indianapolis Colts. So do you see an upset happening here, or are the Chargers going to keep rolling here in Week 9?
Chargers keep rolling. I'm sorry, Tennessee fans. I called your only win of the season, which was an upset for you guys, but I just don't see a way you beat this Chargers team. They blew the doors off the Minnesota Vikings last week, and with a team that really can't establish the ground game against this team and work through that play-action game, it's not going to be an easy win against them, and I think we saw that on Thursday Night Football with Aaron Jones coming back from injury, not being able to do much. I don't think that Vidal is going to have another good game like he did last week for the Chargers, for example, but I do think that they're going to have enough from that passing game to win them this game. It's going to be an absolute barn burner for them on the score sheet. I think there's going to be no fireworks left in the stadium after a game like this, as I think they're going to go all out in this one. I think they're going to play very well, and I think they're going to win 31-14. Go ahead and give me the LA Chargers to steamroll Tennessee.
No lock of the week?
No.
Ooh, that's interesting.
I've kind of made like a little bit of a rule with myself. I don't want to make a lock of the week for the same team back-to-back weeks because I picked the Colts to beat the Titans last week. Like I wouldn't pick the Browns to get me the lock of the week every week against them. You know, just hating on the same team.
Right.
So I think I'm gonna switch it up every couple weeks and stuff and see how it goes. But yeah, no lock of the week.
Well, speaking of lock of the week, the AI is going to have its lock of the week here at the Chargers over the Titans, as Brian is also going to agree with that and pick the Chargers over the Titans. No lock of the week for him, though. I'm also going to agree here, obviously. Give me the Chargers.
I was going to say, you haven't
Titans,
said you yet.
Yeah, no, Titans have had, no life so far this season, to the point where a bunch of players are rumored to being traded away from the team. There's been players asking to be released, that being Tyler Lockett. And the Chargers really got back on track last week, considering they've kind of been sluggish the past couple of weeks. Like, damn near the whole month, honestly, it feels like at this point. But they finally got back on track with a really good win against the Vikings. Showed a lot of promise in the game. So I think they're going to continue to build that momentum here and get another win there in Tennessee. As we move right along to the next game, which is, speaking of the Vikings, the 3-4 Minnesota Vikings in a divisional battle in Detroit to take on the 5-2 Lions coming off the bye week, as J.J. McCarthy is expected to finally be back after missing so many weeks with his injury. And will McCarthy come out with a bang, or are the Lions going to keep rolling here in the North?
I think the Lions are going to keep rolling in the Great White North. I think they're doing their thing, and they've been a very good team all season. Their Week 1 loss has been shown to be a pretty big fluke, and then their only other loss is the Kansas City Chiefs, which it is the Kansas City Chiefs after all. This is not the Chiefs that they're going up against with J.J. McCarthy. Mm-hmm. McCarthy's probably going to be a little rusty coming back after playing pretty bad before his injury, too. I think that he won't play too well in this game. I think that he's going to have a couple mistakes, some mental errors potentially, and I think that a Lions defense that's been very surprisingly good to me. I feel like a lot of people aren't giving them enough credit, but I think this Lions defense is very good right now, and I think they're going to play very well, and they're going to get a win here at home, too. Coming off the bye, everything lines up perfectly for them. 28-7, give me the Lions.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with the Lions here, too. This one doesn't feel like it's going to be too much of a competition, considering J.J. McCarthy's going to be back in the lineup. He hasn't played in quite some time, so it'll probably take him a little bit to get used to the offense and everything once again. Like you said, the Lions coming off the bye, they're going to be a bit healthier. They're going to be fresh really off the bye, and they were looking good going into the bye, too. So this should be a nice, solid win for the Lions. But again, divisional game. Anything can happen in these kinds of games, but both Brian and the AI, once again, are going to go with the Detroit Lions.
Wow.
4 straight sweeps.
To start us off.
Really was. That kind of made me a bit worried because I was going through these games before the pod, and I was thinking to myself, I'm like, a lot of these games feel a little too easy to pick. So,
yeah, that's fair.
But moving on to the next matchup here, we got the 3-4 Atlanta Falcons that got absolutely killed by the Miami Dolphins last week, as they're going to go into New England to take on the 6-2 Patriots, who really beat down the Cleveland Browns a week ago. Is Drake May, is he the MVP of the league right now? That'd be a story for another day, but who do you have winning in this one?
I kind of want to mention both of those things. So my first little bit of stats here for you all. I'm going to have a couple other games that have stats, but this is the first one. The Falcons have played 4 outdoor games in the last year. I'm going to go from most recent to the least recent. So the one that happened most recent.
Okay.
49ers lost 20-10 last week. 30-0 loss to the Panthers earlier this season. A 30-24 loss to the Washington Commanders last year on Sunday Night Football. And a 38-6 loss to the Broncos last year as well. That is a loss by 19.5 points on average in their last 4 games that they've played outdoors. Guess where Gillette Stadium is? It's outdoors. That's a tough one for them to take and swallow there as they're 0-4. As Michael Penix is yet to win a game in his NFL career outside. Yet to win a game outside in his NFL career. That's a tough one. They've split with the Bucs each the times he's played, but they won their home game in those games, and they won the home game when Kirk Cousins was still the quarterback and not Michael Penix. So even if that was the case, wouldn't count anyway. Anyway, moving into the other side, Drake May has recorded 200-plus passing yards and 100-plus passer rating in 7 consecutive games. There's only a select number of quarterbacks that have done that in NFL history. You ready? In 2011 and 2020, Aaron Rodgers did it. In 2007, it was Tom Brady who did it. 2004, Peyton Manning. And then 2018, Patrick Mahomes did it. You know what's common about all 8 of those guys? All 8 of those scenarios, they all won MVP that season that they did it.
I don't like that stat.
I know you don't like that stat, but they are also, here's the kicker here. What's the main thing for this Falcons offense? It's Bijan Robinson, right? The New England Patriots are the only team in NFL history through 8 weeks or longer in the season to only give up 50 yards or less in a game through every single one of those games. They have not allowed a runner to go over 50 yards. The leading runner against them this season is James Cook with 49 yards in the Bills' loss. That's it. That's the highest total. And Bijan Robinson is what this offense runs through. With all those stats mentioned, give me the Patriots 24.
I was waiting.
Give me the Falcons. Give me the Patriots 24-13. History repeats itself. It's mentioned in that 0-4 record. Obviously, with the Bills 0-4.
Okay, and this podcast is over.
Either way, though, I do think that this is a very good Patriots team, and they're not just defined by how easy their schedule has been. They've beaten up some pretty decent teams, and I think the Falcons are a decent team. If they could be consistent, then they would totally be okay. It's just right now they're not showing that consistency for me, and that's going to lead to a loss to New England in this game.
Yeah, another thing that should be monitored going into this game is the health of Michael Penix and if he's going to be playing this week. I haven't heard much about it just yet, but I know obviously Kirk Cousins played last week, didn't look too great, and not too much happened there on the offensive side of the ball, as well as Drake London as well. That's very important for my fantasy team this week, too.
Against the Patriots defense, he's probably going up against Gonzalez, though.
Yeah, so is it even worth starting him? We will see. But I'm also going to go with the New England Patriots in this one, with all the stuff you mentioned, including with the fact that the Patriots are on a 5-game winning streak, I believe it is, right now. Drake May is looking really good, as everyone knows by now. At some point, though, I will say the Patriots are going to lose a game, and I cannot wait for that day to come, obviously being a Bills fan. But Yet again, for the fifth straight game, both the AI and Brian are going to agree with us, as we have yet another sweep to continue this week, as we are going to move along to the sixth game so far in the slate, and that being the 7-1 Indianapolis Colts, team with the best record in the league, as they just beat down on their division rival Tennessee Titans, as they travel into Pittsburgh to take on the 4-3 Steelers, coming off a loss to the Green Bay Packers on Sunday night. Will Rodgers and the Steelers rebound against the Colts, or is Jonathan Taylor going to keep running away from all these defenses?
Well, another little bit of stats here for this one.
Here we go.
Indianapolis is going to be playing in the elements in this game. The weather is supposed to be rainy, which is going to favor the ground game. And shocker for anybody who doesn't watch football or lives under a rock, Jonathan Taylor leads the league in rushing yards and touchdowns this season. So that helps them, obviously, of course. On top of that, Indianapolis is leading the league in total yards per game with 385.3 and points per game with 33.8 points per game as well. Going up against Pittsburgh's defense, which the pass defense for the Pittsburgh Steelers this year has allowed 273.3 passing yards, which is the most in the NFL. So even if Jonathan Taylor in the ground game don't get it going in the rain, they still have the offense to fall back on in this game. Or even if they try to start with the offense a little bit and get it going with the passing, they still have Jonathan Taylor in that backfield. So even if they manage to stop Jones, the Colts will still have Taylor there to help them with that. And the last thing I want to mention, which you kind of touched on a little bit already, the Steelers have kind of hit that skid mark every single season, right? Mm-hmm. Every year for the last 11 years, the Steelers have lost 2 games in a row from week 7 to week 14. 2 games in a row from one of those few weeks in between there. From week 7 to week 14, where are we at right now in the NFL season?
Week 9.
Week 9. What happened last week? Week 8? They lost.
Yep.
This could be the week, and with how good the Colts have been, you bet your ass I'm not betting against the Indianapolis Colts. 7-1, make it 8-1, baby. Give me the Colts to ride high in this one. 31-21. Give them all the elements you need. You're not stopping Indiana Jones in the rain.
Oh my gosh. It's crazy that we're damn near November now. This is actually insane.
I know, like, okay, Colts, when are we going to die?
Waiting for it.
Come on.
It could still happen. It very well still could.
I mean, they're looking for their 3rd straight Super Bowl, so.
We're gonna reach a point eventually, if like with the Colts, like I've been keep saying it happens with every team. They're gonna still be winning, and they're gonna have like 10, 11 wins, but they're not gonna look as good, and people are gonna start doubting them, and that's when the losses start coming at the very end of the season.
Like the Steelers did that one fluky season.
Yep.
The only difference is,
Vikings,
though, is they don't feel like a fluke, dude. They really don't. They have legitimately a really good running back. That Steelers team, if you look at that Steelers team, they didn't really have much. They were just quick hitters from Ben Roethlisberger in his last couple seasons. They were never really that great of a team. They were just skirting by everybody, like barely winning these dogfights. The Colts are out here killing people, out here killing teams. And they're not bad teams. They're beating Jim Harbaugh's defense, dropping 38 on the Chargers defense. Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
That is some tough stuff. And this Colts team with Shane Steichen at the offensive helm, it's all about that defense. If that defense keeps playing the way they've played, I don't see them losing.
Yeah, it's very true. The one thing that made it a bit difficult for me to pick this game was really because of the Steelers losing last week and it being kind of a bit of an emotional game. I feel like Aaron Rodgers wants to come out here and have a really good game to kind of prove himself a little bit, which made me like think about it just for a second, and I was like, yeah, the Colts, there's no reason to pick against them right now. But the AI, I think, was thinking similarly because they have their upset of the week with the Steelers over the Indianapolis Colts here in this one. But Brian is going to stick with us and go with the Colts in that matchup as we move along to the next game. That being the 6-2 Denver Broncos coming off a win against the Dallas Cowboys as they travel into Houston to take on the 3-4 Texans that might have some new life after beating the 49ers last week. So who do you think is going to get a loss here in this one, as both teams have kind of been looking good lately?
Yeah, I have more stats for you. But
Ooh.
before I get into the stats here,
Aw.
I think this game is going to come down to 2 different things, and that's going to be coaching and defense.
Okay.
Coaching and defense are the 2 main things.
Yep.
I think they're about even when it comes to coaching. Sean Payton and D'Amico Ryans are both on that same level for me. Obviously, Sean Payton's had the longevity of it, but D'Amico Ryans has shown some signs of very good coaching abilities, at least in his young career as a coach. Moving into the stats, though, The Denver Broncos lead the league in sacks this year with 36 sacks. And the Texans have allowed 15 sacks this season, which doesn't sound like a whole lot when you think about it on the surface, 15 sacks. However, in games they've allowed 3 sacks or more, the Texans are 0-3. All 3 games they've allowed 3 sacks or more. They've lost those games. And so even without Surtain playing in this game, I think the Denver Broncos defense is still going to do enough to get the win here. It's literally just, you can't argue with the stats when it comes to stuff like that. They are averaging damn near 5 sacks a game right now through 8 weeks. 5 sacks a game is insane stats right there. 8 games I think they've played, and they have 36. So it's a ridiculous amount of stuff that you have to factor in and think about here. But I think overall, at least in my honest opinion, I think this will be a good game. It'll be decently close, but obviously it's going to be low scoring. But give me the Broncos 21-14. It's really not even about Bo Nix being better than Stroud or the running game being better than the Texans running game. It's just about that offensive line for me. And with how shaky it's been and how inconsistent it's been after having a good week like that last week, I don't think they keep it up. I think it's going to be almost like the Cowboys defense, where they'll have like a good game and then the next game they'll give up 45 points. I think that's kind of how that Texans offensive line's been this season, and I think that this is going to be another one of those games for them, unfortunately, for Texans fans. So go ahead and give me Denver to take the win.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Broncos here, too. It's just for me, both these defenses are obviously 2 really good defenses. Like you mentioned, coaching is very similar, but when I look at this, I kind of look towards the offenses, and it's not even like at the quarterbacks either. It's that which team is better offensively overall, and by far it's the Denver Broncos. Sure, the Texans might have had a good game last week. They might have had a couple good games offensively, but overall it still hasn't been great.
If you think about last week, they really didn't have that good of a game. It was like really shitty early on. Nobody could really do anything.
Yeah.
And that's against the backup 49ers defense, basically. Pretty much damn near the half of the defense is just backups.
Yeah, it's true. But that's kind of where my head is at going into this one. And plus, R.J. Harvey had a breakout game last week against me, so very fun. But in terms of other picks, the AI is going to go with the Broncos, as Brian is going to go with the Houston Texans in this one. But it is
not as upset.
It is not his upset of the week, as he is lone wolfing this one with the Houston Texans. As we go straight to the next game, that is going to be the 4-3 Chicago Bears, who just got smacked by Tyler Huntley last week, as they're going to go into Cincinnati to take on the 3-5 Bengals, who just lost to a winless at the time Jets team. So both teams coming off tough losses right now. Which team, though, is going to have the edge on Sunday? Jesus, if I could talk.
I think this will be one of the more interesting games of the weekend. I think this is going to be a back-and-forth game. But, again, stats. The Bengals have allowed 27 or more points in each of their last 4 games, and despite this, they are playing the Bears, who just lost to a really bad defense in Baltimore, who's missing a lot of key starters, and I guess a couple of them came back for this game, but they're definitely not 100% still. And so on top of that, the Bears' secondary is still really banged up this week. They're still going to be missing Jaquan Brisker at safety, and allowing Chase and Higgins to get open early and often is going to be the key game plan for Joe Flacco in this offense, because if you look back to what I said about the Steelers' offense in 2018, they're doing the same damn thing. He didn't have a good offensive line, and neither does Joe Flacco. They're just trying to hit quick hitters and stuff and let Chase and Higgins work their magic with the football like they know they can do. And it's worked to perfection. Last week it was Chase Brown who did most of the work because he was making moves out of the backfield. It's almost like ride the hot hand at this point. And I understand they lost, but they put up good points on offense. They played a good game on offense. And with how inconsistent that Bears offense was last week against the Ravens, who's still not that good of a defense, I think that the Bengals are going to pull off the upset in this one. This is my upset of the week. I know it's not the craziest upset, but I think it's funny considering my upset of the week last week was the Bears and the Bengals. Oh no, is yourself It might be. But either way, though, I do think that the Bengals are going to pull off the upset 31-27. I threw in 27 because they've allowed 27 or more points in 4 straight games, so I think 27 again. Hit it 5 times in a row. I don't.
Well, I will say for starters, we are split on this one. We got 2-2, but give it there, Thomas. We both got the same upset.
Oh, no.
So sound the alarms for both of us. We both have our upset of the week with the same matchup, but both Brian and the AI are going to side with the Chicago Bears. And this was a really, honestly, if it wasn't for last week, I probably would have picked the Bears. That's why I said earlier before we started the pod, it was like it felt really weird for this game just because the Bears were looking good for quite a few weeks, and then they kind of laid a dud against the Ravens. And I did mention earlier how that happens really to every team. But the Bengals, the past 2 weeks now, they've been looking really good offensively with Joe Flacco in there. And even though the defense did look really bad last week, the Bears can definitely take advantage of it, rebound off of it, potentially get a win here. And I know Joe Flacco was hurting a little bit after the game, so I could definitely go towards the Bears for that way. But I feel like I got to go with the hot hand, like you mentioned, and go with Joe Flacco.
Yeah, they've been playing good offense.
Yeah, and take them to win the game. But moving on, the next matchup here being the 4-4 Carolina Panthers going into Green Bay to take on the 5-1-1 Packers. It's weird to think that the Packers only have one loss on the season with how everyone's been talking about the Colts here lately. But Packers looking good. They got another impressive win against the Steelers last week as the Panthers got absolutely killed by the Bills last week. But who is going to get the win here in Green Bay?
I think it's going to be the Packers. The Panthers have played pretty badly on the road. I think they haven't won a game on the road. I don't know. I actually didn't write any stats for this game. But either way, though, I do think that Green Bay is the better football team by a landslide. And after last week having the Bills win with really no consistent receiver, it kind of proved that the Panthers' weakness isn't one good receiver going against them. It's more of like a collective of guys that can all make plays, and that's exactly how we won. You know, it wasn't only one guy making the plays and stuff. We had a good running game, which James Cook, Josh Jacobs, both very good running backs. Obviously, I think Cook's on that echelon a little bit higher than Jacobs, but I do think Josh Jacobs still a very good running back. And then on top of that, you have like that wide receiver core where there's really no true number one guy. There's just more so a bunch of really decent options. And then I think in general, it's the number one passing option for both teams is Dalton Kincaid and Tucker Kraft, tight ends. So I think they match up very well. And right now, overall, the Carolina Panthers are the first team in NFL history. I saw this stat actually yesterday. I didn't need this one.
There's a stat.
There's a little bit of a stat. The Carolina Panthers are the first team in NFL history to allow 100-plus yards to a tight end 3 times within the first 8 weeks of the season.
Wow.
So that's really brutal for them. Even though Kincaid didn't reach that mark, but that's still an insane amount of stats right there for this Panthers team against them. I think that's going to kind of really ruin this one for me on a chance of an upset, but give me the Packers 27-17. They take care of business at home.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Packers here in this one, too. The Panthers are a very inconsistent team. Everyone knows I absolutely hate the Carolina Panthers, too. But there was no Bryce Young last week. I think it's kind of to be determined to see if he's going to be playing this week.
I doubt it.
Doubt it?
I really doubt it. It's a high ankle sprain. Normally, a high ankle sprain is around 4 to 6 weeks.
4 to 6 weeks? If that, I feel like
they would have put him on IR, so I don't think it would. Like, if it's a lower graded one, it's still probably at least 2 or 3 weeks. I don't think he'd come back this early, especially considering they are kind of competitive though, so maybe who really knows? I guess.
Yeah, I will say for many Panthers fans that are listening to this that want some hope for this game, is that it sounds like Rico Dowdle may be the lead back moving forward, at least as long as he's still running as good as he has been the past couple weeks. I think he's going to get more of the bulkage of the carries rather than splitting it between him and Hubbard. I think he's going to get the majority of the carries here in this one. So we'll see how that ends up playing out. But regardless, Packers have way more talent on the team than compared to Carolina, so I think this is kind of an easier one for me. I'm going to go with the Packers as well as Brian and the AI. We're all going to go with the Green Bay Packers in this one as we move to the 4 o'clock window on Fox. First of which being the 1-7 New Orleans Saints, who have a new quarterback starting.
Yes, sir.
As they travel into LA to take on the 5-2 Rams, which I believe were coming off their bye last week. Yes,
they are.
So the Rams going to be fresh and get a nice win here, or is Tyler Shuck going to shock the world and get a win in LA?
Yeah, just in time to play you is Puka Nacua and Saints. perfectly on the bye. But I think this is going to be a blowout for me. I think Shuck's an okay quarterback, but it's his first career NFL start. I think it's going to have a lot of things to be desired, and I think it's going to lead to a tough game for him. I think overall the Rams' offense do against that Saints defense, which proves to be okay at times, but they played well against the Bucs last week, but the Bucs really don't have a number one right now. A lot of guys injured and stuff, and Mecca Ibuka had a pretty good game. I think if they can get that offense a little bit more involved with guys like Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams, and Devontae Adams, I think they'll have an easy game here, and I think they're going to run all over them, especially at home, too. Coming off the bye, we said it with Detroit. I think it's pretty much damn near the same situation, just a little bit different, I guess, first career start versus coming back from injury, J.J. McCarthy and Shuck, but same kind of concept, pretty good NFC team going up against one of those weaker teams, and I think it's going to show in this one, 34-13, and my lock of the week is the Saints get fucked by the Rams.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Rams here in this one, too, shockingly, as well as Brian and the AI in this one as well.
Brian's upset's going to be the Bills over the Chiefs, isn't it?
We'll get to that when we get to that.
Oh
but
my God.
For this one, really all I got to all I gotta say for this one is good luck to Tyler Shuck because he's going up against.
Good luck to Tyler Shuck.
Yeah, because it's a really good Rams team he's going to be going up against in his first ever career start. So good luck to him. I hope he plays somewhat decent in this one. But I think the Rams are going to have a really good game in this one, unless they're going to decide to go into their little slumpy fashion, as they seem to do. They seem to play down to quite a few of their opponents, I've noticed. I feel like they do.
Yeah, that's true.
Not all of them, but they do for quite a few. I feel like they play down to their opponents a little bit.
That 49ers game, I fully expected them to win, and they didn't. So.
Yeah, I feel like the Niners just have something from the Rams, because the Niners always seem to have their number every season. But all of us are going to go with the LA Rams in this one, as we're going to move on to the 11th game out of the 14 that we got this week, that of which being the 4-3 Jacksonville Jaguars traveling into Las Vegas to take on the 2-5 Raiders with their new wide receiver Tyler Lockett. Both teams coming off the bye week, so no real advantage for either team there. But what could be potentially an interesting game, we will see. But who do you have winning this one in Las Vegas?
I think this is it's such a weird matchup, because coming into the season, we thought both of these teams would be around the same spot, probably 3, maybe 4 wins if they were lucky. But the Jags have kind of surprised people, and the Raiders have surprised people for the wrong reasons. But I think it's going to come down to the running game of Ashton Jeanty, and I say it a lot with these teams with the running games, but I really do think so specifically for this Jaguars team. The Jaguars gave up a lot of rushing yards to both Blake Corum and Kyron Williams in that London game, and that kind of scares me because it helped them work off play action, which is exactly the Pete Carroll scheme, work through play action with a guy like Geno Smith, quarterback. He's just a game manager, and that's what he can do best. But I think that even despite that, though, Ashton Jeanty's been kind of inconsistent. This is his first bye week. Maybe he comes out sluggish. Who knows? Maybe he comes out rejuvenated. I don't know. But I do think that it's more so the former. I think it's going to be a little bit of a sluggish performance from him. It's going to get away from him, and they're going to be forced to throw the ball. And with how bad Geno Smith's been this year, I don't trust them to claw their way back into this one. 31-14, Jags run away with it in Las Vegas, coming and winning this one off the bye.
I agree with you yet again. I'm going to go with the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Raiders I feel like they've been pretty bad for majority of the season. Geno Smith has been pretty bad. I hope for their sake that they figured out something during the bye week.
I think they need to switch quarterbacks if they lose this game.
If it's bad, I agree. I think they definitely need to do something there. But Jaguars, I feel like have shown a lot of promise throughout their first half of the season. If this is one of those games now for Jacksonville, you got to take advantage of these opponents that don't really look as good or haven't been good throughout the season. These are the games that might help you win a division, even though Colts are in the division, so it's going to be a pretty tough challenge, but at least getting into the playoffs.
Do they still play them twice?
I'm not sure.
I think they
off the top of my head.
I don't remember if they've played them yet. Continue talking.
But yeah, Jaguars, I think, will end up running away with this one, as the AI agrees with us. But Brian has his upset of the week here.
Wow.
As he has the Raiders taking out the Jacksonville Jaguars in that one. That is a pretty good upset, Brian. Congratulations, you got a good one.
That's a pretty good one.
But moving on to the most important game of the week by absolute mile, at least for us, It is the 5.
They still play twice, the Jackson
They still
Colts
play
do.
twice.
Yes.
Really interesting.
Sorry about that.
It's going to be the 5-3 Kansas City Chiefs as they travel into Buffalo to take on the 5-2 Bills. It's going to be a nationally televised game on CBS. It's going to be Jim Nantz and, I don't know, Jim, Tony Romo on the call as well. Such a perfect game. Love seeing this every single year, especially now it's in Buffalo. I like it even more. But obviously, arguably game of the week here. Lots of headlines for this one. Mahomes, one of the front runners for MVP, everyone's saying, but not so much for Josh Allen so far. But who do you have winning this one in a big game in the AFC?
This is a huge game, and the Bills have had their number in the playoffs, not in the regular season.
I wish.
And the Chiefs have had their number in the playoffs. 4-1 in Allen's career against the Kansas City Chiefs. However, in this game, I'm going to mention some stats here. Here we go. Heading into Week 9, Mahomes has played way better than Allen, and here's the stats to prove it. Allen has just one game this year with 3 touchdown passes. It was Week 1, and if it wasn't for a miraculous fourth quarter, that would not have happened. And according to everyone else's stats and everything from ESPN, of course, Mahomes has done that 4 of his last 5 games, throwing for at least 3 touchdown passes in each of those games, 4 out of the 5 of those last ones. The Chiefs also have a very good run defense, sitting at 6th in the league in yards allowed so far. The two of the teams that are in front of them are the Green Bay Packers and Chicago Bears, which have both been on bye weeks so far, so they don't have as many rushing yards against because of that, obviously. And then on the Buffalo Bills side here, obviously Ed Oliver out for a while. That's going to sting. Run defense is only going to get worse, and there's not going to be much of a pass rush. If you remember the playoff game, the fumble was forced technically by Ed Oliver, even though really he kind of just dropped the ball. Mahomes did. But either way, to further that point, the offense still has a problem, and let me explain. I understand we dropped 40 points on the Carolina Panthers. What do you mean the offense has a problem? What do you mean? What do you mean? Well, hear me out. The Bills are 5-2 this season, right? The Bills have won 4 games with James Cook going over 100 yards or more. All 4 games, They're 4-0 when Cook's run for over 100 yards, right? In the Patriots loss, he only ran for 49, which I mentioned when we got to the Patriots. In the game against the Falcons, he ran the ball 22 times for 87 yards. So a lot of yards, but 22 carries, so not a lot per carry in that game. And if you look at that, the only game Buffalo won when Cook had less than 100 yards was Week 1 in the craziest comeback potentially in a long time, at least in the NFL, especially Week 1. And if you look at it now, technically, if you think about it, with how bad the Ravens have been, that's still not that impressive. How bad the Ravens have been so far this season. So it's been a crazy spot for them to be in. That's just making that all that much more apparent, and it's going to come down to 2 things in this game. How is Josh Allen going to perform, and how is James Cook going to perform on that offense? And if James Cook has a bad game in this one, Josh Allen, with how he's been this season, I can't see him actually winning this game for the Bills. And call me crazy if you want. You can say all you want about Josh Allen and how great he's been in years past, but I'm just not seeing it this year. And I'm a diehard Bills fan, and I'll root for Josh Allen until the day I die, but realistically, if I'm looking at it just from an objective standpoint, from looking at it through the lens of other fans and other people, Josh Allen's not in the MVP race. Mahomes clearly is. The run defense is already bad enough without losing Ed Oliver. On top of that, the one weak link of this Kansas City Chiefs offense is the running game, which is now going to be strengthened because we don't have anybody to stop the run. You're telling me we have to stop Xavier Worthy, Rashee Rice, and name Marquise Brown or somebody else. They always have a good game against us, too. Against Mahomes, who's one of the top MVP candidates right now this season. And a running back in Kareem Hunt who can do some serious damage considering how bad this defensive line has been this season. It's all stacking up against Buffalo. Hear me out, though. I think the Bills are a good football team. And it's going to be close. It's going to be back and forth. We all know that these Bills-Chiefs games aren't going to be a blowout for either side anymore. Obviously, we had the one anomaly of that in the Sunday Night Football game, 38-20. We beat the Chiefs on the road. But I don't think it happens this time. I think it's going to be a close game, back and forth. But give me the Chiefs 27-24 to take down the Bills. Josh Allen, go out and prove me wrong. Go out and prove me wrong, please. I hope you do. Obviously, as a Bills fan, I hope so. But I just don't see it happening. And as much as I want to say, the Bills, I have to be objective here, and I have to say the Kansas City Chiefs, everything matches up for them. If the Bills can win this game, it's just going to be one of those things where it's like we're really good in the regular season against specifically the Chiefs. I just don't see it happening this time around. I think the Chiefs finally break that a little bit, and they're going to win this one. But that only makes it to where we can beat them in the playoffs, because that's kind of how the trend's gone. So hopefully that's how it happens.
Hopefully. So, just
Pencil you in for the Bills?
before I give my pick, both Brian and the AI side with you here. Both going with the Chiefs. For me, however, I am going to be the lone wolf right here and pick the Buffalo Bills.
God. What? No
This is one of those games, especially in a season like this. The final season in Highmark Stadium, everyone's been talking about it. It's been, well, especially in the offseason too. This is it. Like after this season, no more of Highmark Stadium, no more of the Ralph, no more of Rich Stadium. It's all gone. It's going to go over to the new Highmark Stadium. But looking at the records for this game, the Chiefs 5-3, the Bills 5-2. If the Bills end up dropping this game to the Chiefs, which is possible, obviously, the Chiefs will be a game above the Bills, and they will have the head-to-head tiebreaker. And that, without factoring this part in either, the Indianapolis Colts exist too, sitting at 7-1. So if the Bills fall in this game, it is going to be so much harder for them to potentially get a bye in the first round of the playoffs. So that being said,
your pick is solely off the fact.
it's not solely on that.
It's not
the
solely on
amount
that.
of talent the Bills have on this team is. It's a lot. It's a lot of talent.
That's
Josh
true.
Allen, the reigning MVP. James Cook has been one of the best running backs in the National Football League. The offensive line it's been getting a little bit banged up this year. There's been a little bit of inconsistencies, but overall, this group has been together for quite some time now. It is one of the best offensive lines in the league. We may not have the best receivers, but all of them can make plays, like you mentioned. As the defense, sure, they might have some work to do, but they played a damn good game against the Panthers last week, even though I know it was against the Panthers.
It was Andy Dalton at quarterback.
There's no more Ed Oliver either, that is true, but we do have Michael Hoyt and Larry Ogunjobi now to potentially fill up that spot.
This is only making it worse, I'm sorry.
It's not making it worse, but
Oh.
we have some really young, talented guys in the secondary. Cole Bishop, he's just been looking better. Hairston showed some promise in the first game.
This seems like
So,
such desperation.
And on top of all of this mentioned,
we still have Matt Prater at kicker.
You mentioned the running game for Kansas City is going to be amplified because of our poor run defense. There is no Isaiah Pacheco for this game, as he has a high ankle sprain, I believe.
No, it's an MCL sprain.
MCL, same thing.
Yeah, very different. But even still, he wasn't even the feature back last week. Kareem Hunt was, who caught a touchdown pass and ran in a touchdown pass, albeit from like the 1 yard line, because Rashee Rice couldn't get in the end zone for the life of him.
Couldn't finish the drive,
yeah.
but
just like he normally doesn't.
But the very last thing I'll mention with this game before I move on, because we spend way too much time in this game, is that the Bills always end up beating the Chiefs in the regular season. There was that one anomaly, which is the very first matchup during the COVID year, the Chiefs ended up winning, and that was because Clyde Edwards-Helaire went
nuts
off
on us.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I'm looking at for this game. Very big game, very high emotions. Bills starting to get back on track after the bye, beating the Panthers. Now they need to build on it. This is the perfect opportunity to get right back into that conversation as one of the best teams in the league and to stay in the thick of it for the number 1 seed in the conference. But alas, with that being said, we're going to move on to Sunday Night Football. I also forgot to mention, Brian's lock of the week was Kansas City over the Bills. Forgot to mention that as well.
Damn.
So Brian is doing some of God's work in that game as well. But for the Sunday night game, we have the 5-2 Seattle Seahawks as they travel to Washington to take on the 3-5 Commanders. Hopefully, Jaden Daniels will be healthy and good to go for this week. It sounds like that's going to be the case for this week. But there is also health concerns for Terry McLaurin yet again because he came back last week and re-aggravated his injury. So we'll see if he can play for this week. But Commanders with an odd-looking record of 3-5 right now. So backs could be against the wall a little bit here as we enter Week 9. But who do you have winning here on Sunday night?
I can't believe it, but for the third straight time, I'm picking the Seahawks to win
Wow.
this. I've kind of switched my thoughts on the Seahawks. They're coming off a bye, too, so they look a little bit better, too. I just think that this Commanders team is just not fully healthy, and that's a big issue. Obviously, if McLaurin doesn't play, which it looks like that way, it won't happen. And even if Daniels does come back, if you remember his first game back from injury, he didn't look too great. And then, obviously, he had the good game against the Cowboys the week after that. But just trying to get back into the shaking emotions of things and stuff for these quarterbacks, for these players in general, is just really tough, especially in the middle of the season when your team's underperforming compared to last season, of course, obviously. But I think Seattle showed a lot of promise. I think Seattle's showing what they can do, and I'm excited to see Rams Seahawks. I think that's going to be a very good game down the stretch to kind of the pivotal point in the division, which we'll see what happens. I think they've already played at least once this season, but I know that eventually they'll play again. But back to this game, though, I think Seattle is the better football team. It's going to be kind of won by which defense is better, and I think that I think strongly that the Seahawks defense is better than the Commanders. So give me Seattle in a pretty good game, 27-20. Hopefully Daniels plays because this will be a pretty good Sunday Night Football game if he does. But I think the Seahawks are going to walk out of there with a win at home.
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly, really. The Commanders have been really injury-riddled offensively pretty much all season long, and it's been hindering the play of Jaden Daniels, too, like you mentioned. And combine that with Seattle coming off the bye, been looking very impressive in their first half of the season. Darnold looking good still. There's really no reason to not pick the Seattle Seahawks here in this one, which is why both Brian and the AI are also going to go with Seattle in this one as well. But without further ado, the Monday Night Football game. Only one Monday night game this week, thank the Lords. It is the 2-5 Arizona Cardinals traveling into Dallas to take on the 3-4-1 Cowboys to wrap up the week. Who do you got?
So it's my last game with stats. Obviously, it's Monday night, so we have to close it out somehow.
Yep.
The Cowboys have a 53-36 record all time against the Arizona Cardinals. They have lost their last 7 straight games to the Cardinals. However, despite that trend, it's tied for the most consecutive losses for the Cowboys by any franchise ever for them. And the only other one that has ever happened with is the Eagles from 1997 to 2000, which in that stretch, Dallas lost 7 straight games. That 8th game, they won 38-7 in that 8th game.
Okay.
So I think that there's a little bit of a trend there. And funny enough, it was also on Monday Night Football in 2001.
Damn,
so
that's a good stat pull right there.
Late season Monday Night Football. I hope they show this because this was like an insane poll. I didn't think I'd find this, but it's super funny and it's super crazy to me that it happened twice and it's both on Monday Night Football. However, I do think Dak Prescott and the Cowboys are going to get it done here. I understand the Cardinals are coming off that bye week. History kind of tends to repeat itself. 7 straight wins is a lot in a row, especially, showing that that's not a fluke. But this is not the same old Cardinals. This isn't Carson Palmer or Kurt Warner out there. We're looking at Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison. So, it's certainly not a Carson Palmer, Kurt Warner, Larry Fitzgerald combination. So, go ahead and give me Dallas here on Monday Night Football to close it out. 31-17. They dominate Monday Night Football.
Yeah, Dallas really got kicked in the mouth last week from the Denver Broncos.
They're so inconsistent. I should have mentioned that.
Yeah, they really are inconsistent, and the offense especially didn't have as great of a game as they normally do tend to have throughout the season, but they played a really good Broncos defense last week. Their defense is one of the best in the league. But now they're going up against an Arizona Cardinals defense that hasn't been too great, so I think the Cowboys are going to take advantage of that. I think there's going to be a lot of points scored for their side in this one. As the Cardinals could make some noise offensively too, because the Cowboys also don't have the best defenses because they gave up 44 points last week.
It's really the run game that they suck against, and they don't have Trey Benson and the other running back. Dan Mercado's not played up to expectations.
Yeah, that too. But it's kind of what I'm looking at for this one, is both Brian and the AI are also going to go with the Dallas Cowboys. We had a lot of sweeps in this one, but we also, as always, have a couple of upsets tossed in there as well. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast this week. If you guys enjoyed it, thumbs up would be greatly appreciated. And if you guys like what we do here over on the channel, subscribing would be oh so amazing. As if you guys also have picks
Score
of your own,
for you.
I will mention that in just 1 second. If you guys have your score predictions, put them in the comments below. We'd love to see them. Is also over on your side of the screen, my score predictions, where I have my scores for every game in a little nice 2 to 3 minute long video. that you guys can watch right over there. But if you guys, again, want to subscribe, you can see that right around this general vicinity. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weeks. As I say, Lifeforms, out.